Cool. Welcome to the Code Review Weekly Sync. The first item is async. I will just say it's async because Ben is in a different time zone. But if you have thoughts and feedback here, it'd be great to take a look and sort of provide comments. I guess we'll sort of discuss in the agenda, and Ben can come back and go back and forth. So maybe we'll keep an eye on it. But yeah, I looked at it. It's a list of like support tickets. Lots of like approval related things. So it's good to sort of get feedback on where people are running into challenges with. This overlaps a lot with source code, but like actually setting up and configuring the approval rules more so than consuming. But like that, I think as organizations have gotten more complicated, that has gotten more complicated in our product. So if there are things we can do to make that more apparent when it gets to the merge request, then maybe there's opportunities there. And then Andre, you've got number 2.
All righty. Thank you so much. So yeah, I was just wondering, I know that we had the Q3 objective during the UX research, which is the last point in the agenda to the structure demo that I'm really curious about. But I'm wondering if have we started discussions for the OKR for quarter 4 and I totally missed it, and I'm growing old, so I want to just make sure that I didn't miss anything. And if not, should we start it? No. No. Okay.
I have not started
good for my sanity
for Q4 OKRs. I actually don't. I need to go look. Product, like it feels like the guidance is changing and shifting again around quad OKRs in like terms of like maybe we don't actually have to have them. But I don't know because like we used to do issues on the product side, like inside base. We used to do issues on the product side where like they would sort of lay out things and then we would get asked to do roll-ups. And I don't know if we're not doing that this time because UX has also moved under product. And so like maybe the OKRs are a little more aligned there, or if we're not doing them, it sounds like we're also moving away from like the tool we used. And so we might not want to track them on as low a level as we used to anymore. And so that is maybe another contributing factor. I will try and ask and get clarity. If we need to do them as a group. I guess my question would be, do you think they're valuable to us as a group? Like the ones we've done have it typically been things we would do anyway. I guess I'm curious, like, are they valuable in terms of like, do you think it helps us stay on track for like Q4, like if we put them together, or is it just like we're gonna do those things anyways?
It helps saying no to distractions. There's a couple of cases in the past where something came up and like we cannot focus on that because we're focused on shipping something else. I'm not sure whether we'll be able to do that. I'm not sure if we wouldn't be able to do that if we didn't have the OKRs as well, saying that anyway. But if anything, the benefit is to have the entire team focus on the same direction, if that helps. But we also had cases where it ended up being only a portion of the team working on that, the engineering. So I don't know. My question is more like, we have a couple of topics lying around, and I was wondering if we should at least have a discussion to see if we want to pick something up as a group objective. Because what I'm going to get from the engineering side are going to be like global engineering goals. But for example, we started working on real time for the merge request widget, or we're starting to work on the back end. Do we want to continue rolling out real time stuff to the code review part? Are we focusing all efforts on the restructuring of DMR? That's kind of like what I was curious about. I wasn't necessarily questioning the quad objective, more like the joint direction would be useful to have. Yeah. I don't know. We can investigate on our sides, you and product and us in engineering, to see what's going to come down the pipeline. It's a short quarter anyway, with the holidays and that sort of thing. So I expect to not have a lot of time to do major work, but like full rollout of a restructuring of the merge request, for example, I don't think would be anticipating for one full quarter. We can start to roll it out, but I wouldn't expect the whole thing to be done in one quarter, depending on the scope. So
yeah. Is engineering still doing OKRs down to like group level, like engineering manager level? Like, are you being like, you still have OKRs that you have to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
We do.
Okay.
But that's global. Well, not global, but the trickle down engineering OKRs. Yeah. I from my perspective, I think it's always fun for the team to have one objective that drives everybody in code review in one direction. So I might be positively biased towards having a quad OKR, at least one. But yeah, if we don't have one, we shouldn't force it. It's just it could be interesting to think about at least that possibility. Do we expect to roll out the merge request widget real time this quarter, or should we just consider that to roll over to the next one? Okay, then that's probably the answer. The natural answer would be that. The backend is working on it. We still have to do the front end integration. And when we're talking about real time of the merge request widget, there's actually a lot of stuff in there, right? There's a couple of issues to tackle and a couple of scenarios. Okay. All right. I think for now, we'll have a look. Okay, so I'm going to start an issue. All right. Bye.
I'll start an issue like we do every quarter and put the ideas in it, and then we can, if nothing else, we'll just at least build out issues that we say like are OKRs. I linked the product issue where product is not using, or I guess they haven't determined yet if we're going to be using the tool. My understanding, and now like, I don't know, never mind. I'm not even gonna get into it. We talk about it after when we're not recording.
Yeah, I think it's,
right. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think what Andre was saying about having a joint direction and objective is good. Whether or not it's an OKR, I'm kind of indifferent, but knowing what the main goals are and what we're shooting for, I think that's important. However we capture that.
Okay. Thanks for that, guy. The issue will be useful. Can I move on to the next one then? Yeah. Anybody has anything to say about that? Okay. So, sort of an FYI, just to make sure that everybody's aware of this. We had a proposal recently to do a performance roundtable for code review stuff, and the idea is to have an open discussion, but with some certain goals. So the aim here is to have open discussions that will lead into explorations, that can lead into concepts, that can lead into feature work and refactoring and rethinking some of the parts of the way that we build our app of code review for performance. Now there's an alignment in terms of time with the restructuring MR. If we are to restructure the UI of the MR, we may piggyback on that and roll out some performance improvements with it. But for that, we need to have conversations about it in an engineering side and from a full stack perspective. So the idea there is to have backend and front end mingle, but it's not just for that. If you have ideas about it, feel free to join, even if you're not an engineer. It's everybody can contribute for a reason. Or you just want to sit on the sidelines and see how engineers talk. So it's fun. But seriously, it would be great to have anyone who's interested in the topic. There's an issue to start conversations. There's always going to be an issue every week to kind of capture synchronous discussions ahead of the meeting. And then on the meeting, we'll actually have more informed discussions. And it's on alternating time slots. So right now it's more convenient for some part of the world, and the next week will be more convenient for APAC. APAC. So yeah, does anybody has any questions about this initiative or comments?
I'm excited.
Is this I'm excited. Perceived performance or only like actual performance?
That's a good question. I wouldn't distinguish, but I mean, if you have ideas to improve perceived performance, throw them in there, because if they're not obvious yet to us, we might put that in the pipeline for working on it. So we're looking for a meaningful, like rethinking of the application, or the way we generate diffs, the way we handle this or that. But any ideas about performance are welcome then. So perceived performance are also part of it. I would say yes. So all of that to say, perceived performance is included. Yeah. Cool. Thanks. Yeah, I will drop a note on across engineering. I want the idea is to get the ball rolling, and I think over time we'll actually be sniping certain people. Like, hey, you want to join the next session? We might have something for you to weigh in on. But yeah, I'll share it amongst some people. Cool. Matt, have you talked about this with your engineers? Are they aware of it? Are they coming? Do you have any pulse?
I have mentioned it. Are they actually coming? I don't know. I'll reach out to everyone again and make sure
Okay.
they know it's tomorrow. I think they're aware of it, but whether or not they realize when the meeting is, I think that's different. So I'll double
There's
check.
already a thread there that I started yesterday. I see you just pinged them. It's going to be actually a discussion between backend and frontend, so it'd be useful to have at least one of the members of the team. So hopefully we'll get someone. All right. Hope to see you there tomorrow. Kai, you have the next point.
Yeah, I thought maybe it'd be easier to talk about this like sync first and then go from there. Matt did put together an issue. Thank you, Matt, for say-do ratios. It was something that I had talked to Matt about, and maybe Andre, we've talked about it too. Just sort of some milestones, and this is, I will preface this is not like a knock on engineering and what's being delivered and not how I'm approaching this. This is a like, are we planning too ambitiously and like not getting through things that we think, which like sort of interrupts our ability to like understand how we're going to deliver? Not, like if the reality is that like we're sort of overstating capacity and under delivering on a consistent basis, then that's sort of like a conclusion that I would draw, maybe, that we're like trying to plan too much and we never get to it. So like we should scale that back so we really know what we can deliver. But so Matt put this together, and I like, my questions were sort of initially on the charts. Is it back end and front end? And so I don't know if you want to answer the questions, Matt, and then we can.
Sure. Yeah. So I just use, so there's a Periscope or SciSense dashboard that is super slow. So I basically just chugged through a bunch of old milestones to pull out the data. But it is both. It's combined. It's for the whole team. Though it is possible to pull out the back end and front end, which is your next question. So I can create a little dashboard that does that. Parts of that official dashboard have it at least not broken down, but listed out by back end and front end. So the data is there. We just have to report on it in a better way. So yeah, I started that, but it needs a little bit of work. It's still going to be super slow, but even if if I just filter it by code review, it'll be better.
Yeah, I think one of my like the follow-on to that is like, should we break it out? Like, because we plan sort of independently, like, does it make sense to look at this? And again, this is not like, I don't want to penalize a team, so I'm trying to like avoid making it seem blamey. Like, do we want to break it out by back end and front end to know like which, like if it is a specific side or if it's like general, like is that helpful in understanding like what's going on without making it seem like we're trying to like blame people? Like I'm trying to like walk a fine line of not,
I think we're safe.
I don't want to blame the team.
From our perspective, I think we're all grown-ups, and we know that this is from the perspective. I want to see. I see that, for example, on 1410, we have a spike of total issues and of weight. So it seems like we went overboard with scheduling there, and the yellow line does come down on both issue count and weight. So that's the kind of lessons we're going to take out of that. It's a big team, so individual contributions are diluted anyway. But I think it will be more useful since we have two managers. We're splitting it by manager, not necessarily by IC. So I think it's more than useful to have that. If it's doable, Matt, then yeah, I would say yes.
Yeah, and I think I totally agree. And also, I think different teams might have different responsibilities outside of just deliverables. So it might be interesting to see that too. I don't know if that would show up at all, but I think it would make sense to, since we plan slightly differently and have different requirements and things. For example, like, I don't know, 1410, that time frame, was that when we were doing like security allocation stuff? Or some engineering allocation back then, which probably impacted backend a little bit more. I can't really remember all of the
feel like
allocation.
If back end and front end splits, you'd be able to tell.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So those kind of impacts might be more clear that, oh, something was going on with the backend team, this one milestone, and that threw everything off. And something like that, I think, would be more clear if we break it out. So I can certainly do that.
Yeah. Okay. And then it's like my like, what do we do, I guess, is really what this last question is. Like, what do we do with the data? Because right now, if I look at this, and I think I'm interpreting this correctly, it looks like we on average somewhere like 60-ish%, maybe not even quite 60%, but like average of averages is like 60% or below, like somewhere between 50 and 60% of the time, or that's how much we deliver of what we said we were going to deliver each milestone. Is that the correct way to look at that so far?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I think you're looking at the data correctly.
Okay.
There's also
like,
a factor in there, like.
Oh, go ahead, Andre.
Sorry, I just wanted to add that for me, looking at the say-do ratio, like, I don't think the goal is to have 100%. Like, we still, like, there's always that thing about if we're delivering 100%, we're not being ambitious enough. So yeah, we're all on board with that. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of like analyzing the cases where we did have a better ratio, and go look at the type of assignments that we did on that month. Because I, for example, know that certain milestones I assigned a lot more smaller issues, like bugs. Like, for example, this milestone, we have more sus issues assigned than usual. Like, will that be yielding a better say-do ratio or not? So it's a good metric for us managers to see, including for you, Kai, to see whether the assignments we did, the way we did the planning this month, was it a successful one or not, to our team's way of working. It's more like that, lessons for the future,
Okay.
to try to do more of, kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think, like, from my perspective, what I want to know is like, yeah, that's an interesting, like, types of issues. Like, if we schedule, 70% bugs, do we not get through them because we always underestimate them? Or if we, like, is it something like that like maybe there is a balance of the type of work that can help improve it? Yeah, I agree. I don't want to be at 100%. I do want to be more than like somewhere in the 50s of percent. And a lot of that is just because I think it makes it easier. I'd say one of the things that's hard for us right now, right, is we look at we tend to have like long running work streams of things, right? Like, we did mergeability, and right now we're working on a lot of real time, and there's 15 issues in one of those epics to sort of get to a delivery. And so it's very hard to communicate when we will get to that delivery, because we say, oh yeah, we can do 2 or 3 of these every milestone. But the reality is like, that's not always the case, or sometimes something slips or something else slips. And so I don't need 100% confidence, but I need better than like a 50% confidence, I guess, in like terms of being able to say that, like, I think we could deliver this over this period of time. Or like, how do I evaluate, for me, it's like, how do we evaluate relative effort, right? If we're balancing real time and restructuring, and both of those like let's say both had 15 issues, but one was a weight of 10, or well, one was a weight of 15 and one was a weight of 25. Like, I think we'd sort of naturally assume that maybe 15 is easier to get done than 25, but maybe that's not the case because of the types of issues or something else going on there. And so it'd be good to have like a better understanding of like, how do we evaluate work in a way that we understand like actual delivery to get it through? And I don't know if we could go back and like reweight things maybe just to like understand, or maybe we go back and like sort of look at things. But I think this is sort of, I'd say from my perspective, that's what I'm trying to figure out from this is like, how do we get a higher confidence interval of like, yeah, we know how much work we have to do for this, and we expect it to take this amount of time, and we're like, 80% sure. Well, I appreciate all the work you've done already, Matt, and yeah, we can keep discussing in the issue, but I thought it'd be good to like sort of start this conversation here and then figure out what we can do. And Annabelle, we left you time.
Great. Yeah, I was just going to show what we're kind of working on just in case people haven't seen. And I was, working to make this more realistic with an actual merge request. And I've gotten it into a pretty good place where I now know how things are going to work. And, it does work, which is exciting. So let's see if I know how to share a screen. Okay. That's not it. Okay. What I did was I took this merge request, which was a collaboration between mostly Phil and like 5 different developers. So it went through many rounds of reviews. It's got 1 billion comments, label changes, all this mess. So the idea was, okay, what's the worst one we can fix or we can, put into our new framework? And you can see here how many different times different system nodes are added. And it's all these verging on useless pieces of information that we're hoping to kind of streamline a little bit. So the prototype is in 2 parts because Figma hates me. This is what we've already seen. Here's the activity. This is the one that doesn't work. So all of that, all that entire list of things has been condensed into just this section, which is just by default, we show comments and review requests and reviews. And then everything would be a link. So from here, if you wanted to look at the comments, this would be all the comments. You can see the filter here. This is every comment that you'd see. If you haven't selected one, it's a bit like Slack where you pick one from the left and it'll show up on the right. If you haven't selected one, we might show, just a big version of the comment input, which you can also access from here. If you wanted to filter it by one person, you can do that either using that filter, or you see that Kushal was the final reviewer. So if you click on 5 comments, you'll see all the comments that he's added to that merge request, and they're grouped. So this was his review. And then you can click through each part of the review. And then this was just an individual comment that he left on a diff that someone else started. And you can see it right here. And then you can collapse the review here. You can, what else is usable here? I guess that's kind of it actually, but everything, all the questions that were brought up in the initial round of testing with our really basic prototype that was kind of a perfect scenario, it does work pretty well right here. So I think that we're ready to use this prototype if I need to, fix some things, but we're ready to kind of do more research on it. I think internal and external will need to do, but it does work. So that's exciting. I was just kind of letting everyone know this is kind of what we're potentially going for. And this also, in a way, kind of takes some inspiration from the review rounds that we've been looking at, in that it is grouped. So if you look at this review, it's grouped into one kind of piece. It doesn't look like it. We can fix the styling and everything, but I wanted to be able to group things by either comments or reviews. So it kind of takes things from there. And then from here, I'll talk to Ben about what our next steps are and how we can continue the research.
Awesome.
And my question for like Andre and Matt, prior to like sending this through like a round of research validation, do you think it would make sense for like Andre and Matt to have an engineer look at this and sort of say like, I don't want to say like engineer, everything is possible. So like engineering is fine. They can be on the hook for all of it, but also like look at it and sort of go,
Level of effort.
Yeah, I don't even know if level of
what?
like, does it make sense? Does it work? Does it like, and not from like the
Annabelle,
usability of like
did you?
side, but like the engineering side.
I didn't mean to cut you off. There's a lag here. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. I think like, yeah, I don't want to say level of effort because I don't think this is final designs and like I think it'd be hard to do, but like, and maybe we don't want to know that. Like maybe we want to just be super ambitious in the design and like, sorry, engineering, this is what you get. I don't know. Like I want to know like how do we bridge that gap to make sure that like we don't end up with something that like we feel really good about from a design and usability perspective, and then engineering looks at it and goes like, I don't even like couldn't even begin to fathom how we would like put this together. But I don't know if this is the right time or not. So sort of a question.
Yeah. My question goes to Annabelle. So the idea that we had was to have Stanislav available for discussion, and if I'm not mistaken, Gary. Did any of this was run by them? Were they involved in the discussion that led to this, or not much participation?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
They might have seen the prototype at some point. When Pedro was commenting while he was doing all this, he was posting videos of the initial prototype he came up with kind of in the skeleton version. He was posting it a lot, so I don't know if they saw it or not.
Yeah, but not at this stage. All right, that's fine. So that'll be my answer, guys, to ping those folks to take a look at this and to kind of weigh in. And in terms of feasibility, I mean, if we just think about what we have today, like it's repurposing the UI to show what, like the filtering, for example, Kushal, like that's a UI filter that we can build, and this would be a new perspective on the data that we already have. I don't see anything there that is a new entity, a new object. If anything, it's just a UI work, which is good in the perspective of feasibility. Would this be for issues too, Annabelle, or does this mean a rift between what we have? It's a different.
It's only for merge requests. Issues are doing their own thing with work items.
Sure. So that liberates a little bit, so then we can create a different app to work with what we want, which it's a nice segue for my point in the agenda. First, /me, I got all giddy when I saw the filtering for author. That's really when you want to go in and look at the review that somebody just sent. That's exactly what I want to do. So kudos for this exercise. Really appreciate that. The second part is that there's an ongoing discussion, an actual proposal of a different architecture, front-end applications at GitLab that Tim put forward, and it's being discussed. And this could be an opportunity to kind of like try out to build a prototype of that application using this as a guidance to see how fast it will be, how efficient that sort of UI would be if we build it that way. So yeah, that's where my mind is. If you look at the links that I put there, I think Tim has a couple of links in there and screenshots and stuff. So it's still being discussed how we're going to roll it out. There's still a lot about architecture-wise, how we're going to be doing this, but to have caching on the client and all that stuff. So there's a bunch of technical stuff, but this UI proposal could help us understand what we're building all of that technological jargon for, if that makes sense. It's good. So next steps, Kai, I'll ping my engineer to kind of take a look at this and to weigh in on anything that he might think of. But overall, I like what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and I just added a comment to the top. I haven't posted any of this yet, so I'll post the designs and the prototype in one of our existing issues and ping Carrie and Stanislav so they can take a look.
Awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. That covers off my concern. I just want to make sure that we're giving, which I wrote, like engineering options to see it early versus feeling like they're surprised later on.
Yeah, and if we want to preemptively try something, put something together to try something out before all of that architecture is put in place, that's possible too. It's just that it helps us more or less know how to build these, whether it's an iteration of the current application, whether it's a new application on the side. I want to try something new. Like all of that plays into this rolling something like this out. Because here's what in my mind is: we wouldn't want to repurpose all of the UI and still battle the same performance problems that we're battling today, right? So we want to make sure that we kill. I don't want to use an aggressive term, but solve two problems with one effort. Okay, great job. I love it.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Right.
Enjoy the rest of your day and your week. Yeah. Bye.
Tomorrow, round table. Be there or be round. Okay. Right. Never mind. I need a coffee. Bye.